It really feels like a golden age for science right now, you know? It
Mm-hmm.
seems like every day there's some groundbreaking discovery, whether it's about the universe or the human brain.
Yeah,
Makes you think, right?
it does.
Well, something that's really been on my mind lately is how these big breakthroughs, like remember when AlphaFold won the Nobel
Yeah,
Prize?
yeah.
For those who might not know, that's the AI that can predict protein structures.
Right.
And then before that, the Nobel Prize was awarded to the people who developed artificial neural networks.
Hmm.
And the thing is, these weren't just big wins for computer science. I mean, these were huge breakthroughs that have really kind of changed the entire scientific landscape.
Yeah, and that's what's so fascinating about artificial intelligence.
Hmm.
It's not just like another tool for scientists to use, you know?
Yeah.
It's becoming like a collaborator.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, what we're seeing now and what our source material really dives into this week is how AI is blurring the lines between different scientific
I
fields.
like that, blurring the lines.
It's not just limited to one discipline anymore. It's really impacting every area of scientific discovery.
It's like this universal language that all scientists can finally understand.
Exactly.
Like, I remember trying to read this research paper once about quantum physics, and honestly, I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
But just imagine if there was an AI that could take those super complex concepts and break them down in a way that even I could understand.
Absolutely. And it's not just about understanding what we already know either. It's about the incredible speed at which AI can analyze information.
Oh, okay.
Think about things like genomics and climate modeling. Those fields involve huge data sets, right? AI can process all that information incredibly fast, which allows us to tackle these complex problems much faster than we ever could have before.
So it's not just about understanding things we already knew. It's like AI is opening these doors to entirely new discoveries, things we never even thought about. And a big part of that has to be this shift towards more collaboration, which the source keeps talking about. They keep using the word silos to describe how science used to work.
Right. The source is pointing out that research has traditionally been very compartmentalized.
Okay.
Like, think about a university. You've got the biology department, the physics department, the chemistry department, and so on. Each one sort of operating in its own little world.
Yeah, like their own little bubbles. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And while there's always been some overlap, AI is really breaking down those walls. It's forcing different disciplines to work together in ways they never had to before.
So instead of everyone working in their own little world, it's becoming more like this big melting pot of knowledge.
Yes, precisely.
Everyone brings their own unique perspective and expertise, and what comes out of that is going to be far more interesting than anything one person could have come up with on their own.
Absolutely. And this shift towards collaboration is especially important now because the problems we're facing are so complex. Take climate change, for example.
Yeah.
You need climatologists, oceanographers, physicists, economists, and probably even more, all working together to really understand and address that problem. No one field has all the answers anymore.
And that's where this idea of open-mindedness and mutual respect comes in, right?
Yeah.
Which the source emphasizes a lot. It's not enough to just get all these smart people in a room together. They need to be willing to actually listen to each other, learn from each other,
Mm-hmm.
and be open to the idea that maybe the old ways of doing things aren't the best ways anymore,
That's a good point.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that actually brings up something else interesting from the source about how we measure and reward these big scientific achievements in this new world of AI and collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing to like recognize individual brilliance,
Right.
but how do you give a Nobel Prize to a team of like hundreds or even thousands of researchers
Oh, absolutely.
who are all contributing in different
Yeah.
ways, right?
It's a huge question, and it's becoming harder and harder to ignore, you know? The source even points out how the Nobel Prize has almost always gone to just one person, or maybe a small group,
Right.
working on a very specific problem. But things are changing so fast. Look at how the COVID-19 vaccines were developed.
Right, right.
That was an incredible scientific achievement, obviously,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like one eureka moment from some lone genius, was it?
No, definitely not.
It was a global effort. Scientists all over the world from every background imaginable working together and at an unbelievable pace, too.
Absolutely.
And of course, there were those key figures, the groups who made crucial discoveries.
Mhm.
But when you look at the big picture, it was really a victory for collaboration, for sharing knowledge openly.
Yeah, you're right.
So then you have to ask, how do we recognize that kind of achievement?
Right. Do our current awards even make sense anymore? It's
Exactly.
like we're trying to cram a square peg into a round hole, you know?
I know,
Like,
right?
the rules of the game were written for a different time, for a different way of doing science. The source even wonders if maybe, just maybe, we need to entirely rethink how we define and celebrate big breakthroughs like that.
Yeah, it's asking us if our traditional view of science, divided up into all these neat little categories, if that even makes sense anymore in the age of AI.
I see what you're saying.
When a discovery in machine learning can lead to a new drug or help us understand climate change better, does it help to be so concerned about which box it fits into?
It's like saying you get a Nobel Prize in physics or chemistry, when the reality is so much messier than that.
Exactly.
It's about all those different areas coming together.
It is. And the way we think about rewarding these achievements, maybe it needs to reflect that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be about what was discovered, but how it happened. The collaborative spirit, that willingness to share ideas freely, to break down the old barriers, those things matter too,
Yeah, they do.
Maybe they deserve to be celebrated just as much.
I think you're right about that. So, where does all this leave us? What does it mean for the future of science? I mean, really, for anyone who's fascinated by discovery and innovation.
It's pretty exciting when you think about it.
Yep.
This isn't just about changing who gets a trophy,
Yeah.
It's about a completely new way of thinking about scientific exploration. This source really makes you wonder, what if every big challenge, curing diseases, understanding consciousness, even what if all those things need this multidisciplinary approach with AI right there at the center of it?
Wow, that's a big what if.
Yeah.
Like, forget everything you thought you knew about how science works.
Right.
It's a whole new ballgame. Makes you wonder, how do we even train the next generation of scientists for this?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Do we need to rethink how universities are structured, those departmental silos we were talking about before?
Yeah, interesting.
Should we be encouraging interdisciplinary research right from the start for younger students? And how do we make sure these new scientists don't just have the technical skills, but that they're ready to collaborate, to adapt to this whole new way of doing things?
This really hits home for me. I remember when I was picking my major in college,
Yeah.
it felt like, okay, I'm choosing this one path, and that's it. No turning back.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
But you're right, if AI is going to keep breaking down those walls between fields, maybe that kind of hyper-specialization, maybe it's not as useful as it used to be.
Fascinating, isn't it? Maybe the most important skill in the future won't be mastering one specific field,
Yeah?
but being able to move between them seamlessly, being fluent in several different scientific languages, and being able to synthesize knowledge in ways we can't even imagine yet.
It's like that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But now, with AI on our side, maybe we can finally do both, go far and fast. This has been a really thought-provoking conversation.
Definitely brings up more questions than answers, probably.
For sure. And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If you were designing the ideal science education for this new world we've been talking about, what would it look like? Something to think about. And until next time, keep diving deep.